If you are a woman physician, I am 100% certain that somebody has pitched you a whole life plan. Whole life insurance, and you hear different permutations of that word, you have probably been pitched. And it always is a question because on one side you hear that, oh, this is great for tax benefits. You should do this. You can borrow against it. The cash value and those words being thrown at you. And then on the other side, you hear all those financial education platforms saying, this is a horrible idea. Do not do it. Do not buy term life insurance only. And sometimes you feel like, am I being left behind? Like, is there something good here that I am missing out on? I'm going to talk to you about that on this episode. And my hope is that at the end of this, you will be very, very clear about where the whole life fits into your plan right now, or if this is something that you really should just have your hands over your ears and go like, don't talk to me. Hi guys, I'm Dr. Latifat, founder of MoneyFit MD. We help women physicians grow their wealth, build life of option and freedom without sacrificing the things that matter most to them. I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm your host. So here is it. This is a conversation that I've been thinking about doing for a long time. And if you are in my world, you know that I highly value you guys. I respect physicians. I want to bring you like expert opinions. I want to bring you like thought leadership opinions. But when it comes to talking about whole life, it seems like the only people, well, I shouldn't say the only people, most of the people that want to talk about it are those that are selling it, right? And you will hear those people do things like call themselves financial services, all these titles that make you think that they can be trusted. But then when you now get down to the bottom of it, you're like, you still don't leave well educated. You still don't leave well informed. In fact, for years and years, I've heard these conversations about term life, whole life, term life, whole life. Disclaimer, I have term life. I don't have whole life at the time that I'm talking to you right now. But it's not because I think that whole life is a horrible idea for every single person and their mama, but it's because I think this is a matter of context. And this is what it usually looks like. Somebody reaches out to you, maybe a family member or a friend of a friend that's like, oh, meet my friend. She's in financial services. She wants to talk to you, or he wants to talk to you. And you're like, get on a call with them or get on a Zoom. They ask you questions. They show you slides. They run their numbers. And most of the things that you will hear them talk about is a tax-free cash value. You can borrow against it. And I'm going to talk about some situations where I think it could be helpful, because my goal here for this episode is to have a fair assessment for you. Because again, sometimes it's not a matter of like if something is bad or good. It's just like debt, right? People are like, oh, this is bad. But there's some context in which debt can be helpful. And if you've listened to my podcast at all, you know that I have leveraged debt. And if I did not leverage debt, I would not be in a place to be free to practice medicine on my terms as early as have been able to do that. If all I focused on was like, oh, we're just going to pay off all the debt, never have any mortgages and any real estate investments, I would be like burned out, crunchy, dusty, and all of those other things that people are feeling out in the streets. But I believe in using things with wisdom. So again, the people that I find that talk a lot about whole life are either selling it, or actually there was a clip that I saw from, I think it was a Shaquille O'Neal, and he was talking about whole life insurance. But you have to understand that Shaq falls in a very, very different socioeconomic class to most people. Shaq falls in a very, very different net worth than most people. So that tells you something about maybe there are nuances to this. Maybe there are specific people that benefit from this. I'll give you an example of a woman physician who I had the opportunity to work with a couple years ago. When she came into my world, she's like, Latifat, I don't know anything about money. I earn, but I freeze when it comes to money. I don't know what to do with it. It feels like I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know what to do. And for her, she said, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. However, when she did like an analysis of where her money was going, she was doing thousands of dollars every month towards whole life insurance. And for me, I'm like, wait a minute, is there something wrong with this where someone has debt, they have credit card debt, someone is like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, someone is saying, I don't know what I'm investing in, and then every month they're paying multiple thousands for whole life insurance, right? And when you're looking at money, it's important to think in terms of the opportunity cost of the money. The opportunity cost of the money matters. What would it be doing if it was not here? Would be something that you need to understand. So I mean, if you listen to my podcast, you may be early in your financial journey, you may be later in your financial journey. You're someone that values your time freedom. You're someone that values relationships. You're someone that values optionality. You're someone that doesn't want to stay stuck, someone that doesn't want to be stuck, someone that doesn't want to burn out in medicine, someone that wants to practice medicine on her terms, right? And so a lot of what I'm talking about is going to be in the context of that kind of person, that person that maybe you have debt right now. Maybe you own your own practice. Maybe you're a W-2. But the bottom line, the commonality between everyone that is listening to my podcast is you earn good income and you want to be free. You don't want to be afraid to live your life, but you also want to build generational wealth. You want to leave a nest egg to your kids. You don't want to leave them money and no memories. So you want to have it all to a point, right? So again, I'm speaking to that context right now. So the question is, if someone is really struggling with their finances, is that the right person that should be buying whole life? Is that the right person that should be spending 4 figures every month towards whole life? And most times when you sold whole life, they just don't sell it to you only. They'll tell you about your kids. If something happens to them, you're going to get paid this. So there is, and people will talk about like, oh, the Rockefellers. Again, guys, it's not whether something is good or bad. It's context. The Rockefellers are a very, very different family, very, very different socioeconomic class. And if you are en route to being that, then it might be for you. But most physicians are not going to have $30 million of assets, of financial net worth. Most physicians are not going to have like 25 million by the end of their life. I hope you do, but most physicians are not. If you're one of those people that you will be, then yes, it may be a tool for you. Okay, so I want to talk about some specific categories in which it actually may be helpful. Because again, I told you guys, I want to be fair. Because if this is something that's going to be helpful for you, then I don't want the general financial, debt is bad, term life is bad, to turn you off. I've already shared that I don't have whole life. And I'm going to share with you why I don't yet at this moment. I could in future. I might in future. But right now, it doesn't fit into my financial plan based on where I am and based on the trajectory of where I see us going. But that could change in a couple of years. Okay. So who are the people and what are the things that you may get pitched on when it comes to whole life insurance? So one of the things that you hear people talk about, like, oh, there's the cash value. So here's the deal. You're putting this money, I'm not even going to say invest in this money. You are putting this money towards whole life. They talk about how there is a floor beneath which the money cannot drop versus if you invested it into the stock market and the stock market could crash. Okay. So they talk about the floor, but then there is also a ceiling over which it usually does not grow. So I want you to think about when you're diversifying your investment. So we talk about stocks. We may talk about bonds. Bonds in general are more stable. Stocks are more volatile. They can go up and down depending on the market and all of that. So you can see that when you're investing in bonds, there is sort of like a trade-off, right? And so when it comes to whole life, there is that trade-off. That's why, because many physicians are focused on growth, that is why if you had to decide between should I invest in the stock market versus should I invest in whole life for long term, the stock market, the number will always come out on top. In fact, there was someone was trying to pitch me on this, and I was like, I'm going to listen because I like to learn. And I want to make sure that if there is a good to it, I want to learn so I can educate my people, right? And after going through it, this person was like talking to me about their numbers. They were pitching their numbers. And I was like, they showed me their numbers. As they were talking about their numbers, I'm here also plugging in the numbers on if I invested this in like regular stock market, boring index funds, passive, not tweaking, not doing anything. And I'm like, wait a minute, my money comes way, way, way on top. And in fact, I asked that person, I'm like, how can you ethically even market this and sell this if the numbers are this different, right? If the numbers are this different, how can you sell this to people if they will come out on top. But the thing is, they talk a lot about what is the cash value and the fact that you can use the cash value. It can be accessible for you to do certain things with. So that's one thing that will be pitched. Is, oh, with the cash value, you can have access to it, you can use it, you can pay off debt with it. And that's true. But if you're a good steward of your money, as most people here are being, if you're have your emergency funds, if you have your debt automated payoff, that's a benefit that may not necessarily be of value to you. So, but they will pitch you about one, the cash value and the fact that the cash value can be accessible. Okay, that's number one. The other people that is pitched as being beneficial to is if you have like permanent disability of some sort, or not disability, permanent liability protection. So most times, if you think about if you get sued or whatever, there's certain investments accounts that you have that can be available for whoever is suing you to have access to, or it's not protected. Whole life can be protected. So some people will tell you, well, the cash value of this is not available if you are in like a legal situation. So that's something that, again, could be attractive to you. However, on the other side of it is you could have good asset protection. You could have good umbrella policy, right? Again, there's like a trade-off here because you are trading off that quote unquote insurance that you have for potential against potential growth. So you're sacrificing potential growth for potential protection. And I think the biggest problem with this is the fact that an insurance product is being mixed with an investment product. Most times, it's like being jack of many trade and master of none. If you are trying to get too many benefits from one thing, it can make the strength of the benefit less, right? So again, I said earlier that it's not like whole life and its derivatives are horrible for you, for everyone. But again, they're trying to mix an insurance product with an investment product. So as an investment product, it sucks. As a insurance product, it could be of value. Okay, so that's why a lot of times talk about term life. It's cheaper, it's straightforward. Yes, after the expiration. So if you get term life that's like 20 years, after that point, it's gone, right? If you have whole life insurance with death benefit, you will have certain amount like the cash value or whatever available after or longer than most term insurances will. But again, it's insurance, helpful in the season that you're in. So I'll give myself as an example. Like life insurance is useful for us, but at a certain point, you could become self-insured where you may not need life insurance. Once your net worth is past a certain level, I'm smiling right now because people will say things like, you don't want the day you die. I mean, you want to pass on legacies to your family, but you also don't want the day you die to be the day that everyone hits a jackpot, right? Have reasonable life insurance, but your death should not be like a jackpot episode to everyone, with the pros and cons that may have. And we'll talk about that on another episode about the downside of giving money only to your children without actually having them have true wealth mindset and wealth principles and wealth philosophies that can get them into problems or situations. So number 2 anyways is if you are looking for better or good liability protection, this could be helpful. All right. The number 3 thing that it could be helpful for was kind of what I was talking about earlier, which is like as just straight out life insurance, not talking about like asset protection, but just life insurance. There could be benefits for you to have whole life insurance because of the death benefit compared to term life insurance, which most times you have, a term. It could be 20 years, it could be 30 years. You could have way more than that. You could have like a ladder approach. There are ways to avoid buying whole life if it does not fit into your life. And if you're listening right now, by the way, and you don't have life insurance, you should look into getting life insurance. And I would still say simple term life insurance at the very minimum. and this is one of the things I would teach people inside of 6 to 7, is making sure you have the right amount of life insurance so that your family can be taken care of if, God forbid, something was to happen to you. All right. The number 4 area that it could be helpful is when they talk about the tax free. The tax free is something that can be helpful for you. But if you are beginning your financial journey, if you have debt, if you have not maximized every single potential tax leverage opportunities available to you, you don't need to jump into whole life insurance just for the tax free access to the cash value of the product that you have. So what do I mean by that? There are things that are available to most people like 401k, solo 401k, your IRA, backdoor IRA that has some potential tax benefits when it comes to the growth on the money that you're investing. You may qualify for like a cash benefit plan depending on the circumstances of your company or your business, right? So there are real estate potential ways you can decrease tax liability that can also increase your net worth, right? Your short-term rental loophole, the real estate professional status. So there are many other ways that would also make growth investment sense that you can use to benefit from a tax leverage perspective. So, but once you've done all of that and you're sitting there like, I ain't got nothing else to do with money. Yes, go do whole life. Potentially, that could be a benefit to you. But don't let anyone sell you on the fact that this is the only tax-free, tax advantaged way for you to have your money, quote unquote, invested. Again, this is the biggest issue with this is it's combining insurance plus investment. That's the challenge. So it's doing a weak job of the investment part. But for the tax free, if you ain't got nothing else, and that's why people like Shaq may talk about it. People that are ultra wealthy will talk about it because they're not trying to, like, everything's already done when it comes to like tax optimization. It's a matter of like what other buckets exist. So if you're there, then absolutely this may be something that could be of use to you. And then the last one that I want to talk about here, I believe it's number 5, is the estate planning part. So this is one of the things that you'll also be told that, if you have whole life insurance or one of its derivatives, you can pass this on to your heirs without it, when we're talking about the what's it called? My brain is freezing right now. When it comes to passing on wealth to your family, the estate tax, what's it called? The estate tax limit, right? And if you think about it, as of the time that I'm recording this, the amount, so if you're passing money on to your heirs, when you get past a certain amount, it's going to be taxed at, like, I believe it's 40%. If you have money inside of your whole life, it can be helpful when it comes to people that are surpassing that level. And as of the time of this recording, it was, last time I checked, it was between 15 to 30 million, depending on whether you're single, depending on whether you're a couple. So for you, if you're going to be passing on that amount of money to your children, you also will most likely be part of those people that belong in the other category that I talked about, where you've maximized everything. And that can be of benefit there. So this is why I'm not one of those people that will tell you whole life sucks for everybody, but there is a specific group of people that it can be of benefit to. The only other one that I actually want to mention that I didn't mention earlier is if you're someone who has a child that is dependent on you and you believe that for health reasons, disability issues, they may need support long term. This is something that you can also talk to an advisor about, a fiduciary advisor. You can talk to those people around, like if this is something that fits in your estate, right? So again, those are the people that I believe it's helpful for. If you're someone who you have a lot of debt, your net worth is like $1 million, $2 million, like you are still in the low, that range, you haven't maximized everything yet, it is not the best for you. And the reason why it is pushed so hard is because those that sell it make a nice commission on it. from what I was told in the past, in fact, one of the person that was trying to sell me on it, she was like, she's selling it. And she's like, oh my goodness, when I got my check, I was like, wow, this is real money. So that's the incentive that people have for selling it. And I'm not against people making money. I'm just against people selling the wrong thing to the right person or to the wrong person. I've literally had people that have been interested in our community in Money Fit MD that I've said, I don't think this is the next best step for you. I think you should go do this other thing, and then you can come back and this is the best place for you, because there has to be ethics in terms of making sure that you're selling the right thing to the right person. I'm not anti-selling. Like, selling is service in my opinion, but let's make sure that we're doing it from a place that's like ethically, like reasonable and ethically sound. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, let me know. If there's any topics that you want us to talk about on the podcast, go on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook. Send me a DM. I'd love to make sure that the topics that we're talking about is something that is helpful for you. And literally this conversation that I'm having with you is because someone said, I want to hear the truth, Latifat. What is your true opinion about whole life insurance? So in my own specific situation, honestly, we don't have whole life insurance because, again, our needs are met when it comes to investments, when it comes to insurance. But also for us, we're not sure how much we're going to want to pass on to our kids. I believe in passing on wealth that makes sense. I don't believe in removing the urge for hunger from your children, because hunger is the drive that makes them motivated. And so when you're like stuff them and you take away that drive for them to have great, there can be a problem. But also at the place that we are in, we care about giving while we're while we're alive. We're not waiting to the end of our life to give. So we give to causes that matter to us, but we also believe in experiences as well. So would I rather give my kids I don't know, $50 million versus like giving them good education, great education, in fact, great experiences that makes us bond together as a family, have time flexibility so that we can actually spend time together and teach them how to get generational wealth, teach them how to have principles about the world, about Bible, about assets, about wisdom. Those, like, so time is one of the best things. So if you find yourself exchanging time for a lot of money, I want you to start to think about what are the things that actually matter to me? What are the values that I want to pass on to my kids? And of course, my hope is that you will build engines that build a lot of money. My hope is that you'll build systems that will grow, automating your investment, diversifying, earning, and putting it into systems that you've already set up that's going to grow for you. I want you to do that, because then when you do that, then whole life can be an option, because now you're not exchanging time. It's not like you're working like 5 billion hours clinically to earn $3 million a year and not seeing your family. No, you are earning money, you're spending time with family, and the growth is because of investment. Then absolutely talk to your people and see if whole life would be of benefit to you. So I hope this has been helpful. Maybe I should start to sell whole life. I mean, if I'm going to be selling it, I already told you these are the people that I'm going to be selling to. Like, that small subgroup of people are those that I think would benefit the most from it. Those that are not going to do anything with their money could benefit, but if you listen to this podcast, you no longer qualify for that. So I hope this has been helpful. I love you. Thanks for listening. And if this was helpful for you, I want you to go ahead and share the link on social media, text it to friends. If you know any woman physician that would benefit from this conversation and trying to grow her life, optionality, and freedom, go ahead and text it to her. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.